Hey, what's up everybody? cmdrradix here bringing you another video, and today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about a little practice I've been experimenting with the past week or so. I think it's about the past week or so I've started doing this. Every day, I wake up... Love him or hate him, he's spitting straight facts. Every day I wake up and I wonder, what am I going to do today? I really like to wake up early. I typically the latest I usually wake up is around 5:30 a.m., but typically I wake up around 5 a.m. In the past I've woken up at like 4:45 a.m. I really enjoy waking up early. It gives me time to wake up, do the stuff I want to do my morning prayer, do my morning routine or whatever, before everyone else is up, or while everyone is just waking up, really. And it's a moment of silence, it's a moment of peace before the day gets started. I just said gay. He said gay. But lately, I've been having trouble getting out of bed, waking up, wondering, what am I going to do today? I have no idea. I'll get up, do morning prayer, and then I have like 2 or 3 hours until I have to go to work. And like, what am I going to do in those 2 to 3 hours? It's more like 2 hours. Not so much 3 hours, 2 hours. And something I would often do is I would probably hop onto X, hop onto YouTube, watch some silly meme videos, post some stupid tweets, and then, in the words of one of my favorite YouTubers lately, Odysseus, I would wake up, I would scroll, and then I would be retarded for the rest of the day. He actually said that in one video. I knew this wasn't going to work, and I knew that I wanted to do something more substantial, something more meaningful early in the morning. If I woke up early in the morning, I might as well spend my time on something useful, right? Or not even, I'm allergic to the word useful. Something that has meaning. Now, it's not a good time to really jump into a book. The book I'm reading right now, by the way, is The Eastern Front by Nick Lloyd, which is a massive tome of a book. It's not something I want to be reading at 5:30 a.m.
Italy was now undergoing the greatest crisis in her modern history, with the remnants of the Second Army streaming away from the front, its regiments hemorrhaging men and guns with every mile it covered. The Duke of Aosta's Third Army was also forced to withdraw from the Carso, managing to do so in good order despite a mood of panic that threatened to sweep everything away. On the 9th of October, 26th October...
See, I'm not reading that at 6:30 a.m. Like, this is, I have to be mentally awake and prepared to take on this monster. But a thought came to me one day while I was browsing the bookstore, the English book section of the bookstore, and I found this book, 100 Poems from Old Japan, a new translation of the Hyakunin Isshu. Okay, it's 100 poems from the classical period of Japanese history. The Hyakunin Isshu was basically meant to be a compilation of 100 of Japan's best hit poems from like the Nara Heian period. It was meant to like be a starter pack, an entry into classical Japanese poetry that was prepared in the classical period. And I was seeing this in the bookstore and I'm like, that's really cool. How do you read poetry? Like, I'm used to, like, reading books, right? I'm used to picking up a book, reading it from beginning to end, analyzing it as I go through, seeing the major arguments, the major themes, and then concluding it, then moving on to the next book. You can't really do that with a collection of poems. That's not how poetry books work. So I didn't have like a system for reading poetry, and at the same time, it's not like I can say, oh, poetry doesn't matter. Poetry is a very essential part of literature, and if you want to be well-read, if you want to be a literary boy, I don't know why I said it like that. If you want to be a literary boy, you gotta read some poetry. Poetry is not an option. Isn't that? I think there's like an Adam Walker stream or video titled Poetry is Not Optional. But I was looking at this book and I was thinking, you know what? Here's what I could do. I could just simply, in those morning hours where I'm not awake enough to really get into deeper literature, but I don't want to scroll or anything like that, what I could do is I could just casually Read 5 poems. These are Japanese poems, and if you know Japanese poetry, you know that they don't take a lot of time to read, right? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, okay? They don't take a lot of time to read. So I can wake up, do morning prayer, or even before morning prayer, read 5 poems, right? Let that be a way to gently wake me up in the morning. And having that sort of routine means I now have a place for poetry in my daily life. I am becoming a poem reader. Ooh, which reminds me, this is only going to take, if this is 100 poems, and I'm reading 5 a day, it's not going to be long before I finish this, so I should probably get another book of poems at some point. I'm really interested in reading the poetry of, like, the English Romantics, especially, like, John Keats, William Blake, who wrote Kubla Khan? Samuel Taylor Coleridge. I really want to see more classical and romantic poetry. And I think I found how to fit it into my schedule. Poetry is a lot like the rawest form of literature possible. If we consider literature being a way of conveying meaning through things like plot, character, conflict, theme, setting, if you know, you know. It's ideas conveyed through artistic language. The rawest form of that is poetry. In fact, every study of the humanities, if you trace it back, will eventually go back to poetry. History actually comes from a more philosophical understanding of the universe, which then came from things like the epic poetry of the bards and of Homer, right? And then you go further back, it's going into typical poetry, okay? Philosophy, likewise, just comes from poetry. Prose literature has its origin in poetry. Everything comes from poetry. Poetry is like the first cell from which the animal kingdom branched off of. Poetry is that important. It is almost the rawest form of meaning you can possibly turn into the written word. The deepest and rawest form of meaning that isn't just pure intuition and revelation. Poetry is really nice because it has a very, how do I say, anti-short form content effect, okay? You could take, a few seconds to watch a TikTok reel, an Instagram reel, a YouTube short, or you could use that time to read a poem. These aren't long poems. Japanese poetry is not long poetry. And they will have 2 very different impacts on you. Short form content is going to sort of take your consciousness and sort of diffuse it, separate it. The next reel, the next reel, the next reel, they don't really build off on each other. They're all completely different contexts, completely different settings, completely different ideas. Not even ideas, completely different sensations. And there's a lot going on in them. They don't last that long. It's going to diffuse your attention span, send it scattering out like the Big Bang. Poetry does quite the opposite. In order to really understand or think about a poem, to really experience a poem, to let a poem wash over you, you have to focus your attention, and it focuses, your experience, your feelings, your thoughts, all together in one. It's a collecting process. Very different. It's YouTube shorts are anti-poetry is what they are. Poetry, in a lot of ways, is like the remedy to our sort of attention span crisis and the remedy to a lot of the impacts of short-form content. And so by starting my day off with poetry, I am starting my day off with an experience kind of similar to meditation, you could argue, that is bringing me together to face the day, and I think that's really cool. Let me read a few examples of some of my favorite poems in the Hyakunin Isshu by Yamabe no Akahito. Walking out on Tago Beach, when suddenly I'm face to face with a sheet of solid white, the towering peak of Fuji, crowned by snow, still falling now. Think about that. I'm reading that in the summer. Reading about this experience of a Japanese person. Who is this Japanese person? Yamabe no Akahito. From, I assume, the Heian period. Their experience walking on a beach, and you can think of the vibes that the beach has, like flower shirts, sunglasses, and, being on a subtropical island myself and having to deal with the heat of July, I'm getting that starting vibe of this guy at the beach, experiencing this heat, but if you can see Mount Fuji from the beach, you see that Mount Fuji still has snow on it, right? And that really puts things into perspective of, oh, this experience I'm having right now is not all there is. In fact, within my own eyesight, I can see snow. I can see a very different experience of the world that people over there are having, right? That's kind of wild. If it's one of those poems that made me stop and just sit back and think about that. As someone who has been to Mount Fuji, as someone who has climbed Mount Fuji, and I climbed it in like August a few years ago, knowing that the heat I'm experiencing right now is different from the snow I know that exists up there right now. It's crazy to think about. A poem by Abe no Nakamaro. Gazing at that far-off moon across heaven's vast expanse, can it be the same moon I once saw at Kasuga Shrine as it rose over Mount Mikasa while I was praying for safe passage? Think about that. The moon, and you could say the sun, the heavens above us are the same moon, sun, and heavens at any moment in our lives when we've looked up at the sky. Think about the passage of time and how that pales in comparison to the vastness of the cosmos. This video is getting longer than what I wanted it to be, so let me hurry up and read some more poems. I'll let you reflect on these poems. Ariwara no Yukihara. Well then, we must part. But if your voice comes wafting among the sighs of the inaba pine and bends my ear, back I come in an instant. The monk Sosei. Believing in your promise to quickly come, this long September night I passed, to find I waited only for the morning moon. Is that not fantastic? Does not just pull you together, right? That is the power of poetry. In the 21st century, we have to fight for meaning. We have to do things in our life that reflect meaning, that let us experience meaning in a raw way that we might not typically be able to these days with the world being the way it is. Poetry is raw meaning, and I have found it's a great practice to start your day with some poetry. It's given me the answer to what I'm supposed to do in the morning when I don't really have enough time to get into something deep and time-consuming, but I don't want to just scroll on the internet. It's given me a chance to incorporate poetry somewhere in my life, and it's just overall a great way to pull myself together and prepare for the coming day. If you're seeking re-enchantment, poetry is one of the ways to go. But that's going to wrap up my video on poetry and why you should be reading it. I don't remember how to end videos. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. I just said that twice. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you have not yet for more humanities and re-enchantment content. And have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.